On Sunday, September 26, 1904, it started to rain. The wind picked up, lightning flashed, thunder rolled. Old-timers in Elmwood called the storm an Oklahoma Zephyr, as its winds tore through town. On the square, trees toppled, plate glass buildings' fronts shattered, and debris littered the park. Throughout central Peoria County, the muddy waters of Kickapoo Creek rose. The flood grew and took out bridges, fences, and even livestock. Hundreds of head of cattle, sheep, and horses disappeared downstream. At the junction of the Kickapoo, Walnut, and Tiber Creeks, water filled the creek bottom up to where the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad tracks ran east out of Elmwood. The hungry current ate away at the ground under the rails, leaving 12 feet of tracks suspended over open air. The CB&Q ran passengers and mail twice a day from the Elmwood Depot through Oak Hill, Edwards, and Pottstown to Union Depot in Peoria. At 6 a.m. Monday morning, after the Oklahoma Zephyr ripped through the county, Train 56 was set to leave Elmwood. At the depot, passengers boarded the train, finding seats in the chair car or the smoking car as baggage and the day's mail were loaded onto the express car. The passenger load included many Elmwood residents, including Reverend Keniston of the Congregational Church. Also aboard was CB&Q stonecutter John Bach, going from his home in Quincy to a job down the line in Edwards. Once out of town, passengers left the safety of their seats, crowding onto the platforms between the cars, watching floodwaters churn and viewing the scene of devastation across the valley. At first, the train crept forward, the engineer concerned the current had weakened the upcoming bridge. But once he saw that the bridge stood firm, Engineer Conklin added steam and the locomotive picked up speed. But Train 56 had only gone a bit further when the engine suddenly lurched. The train plunged forward and tumbled sideways off the rails as it hit the washed-out section of track. The tender flew across the tracks, and the smoking car and chairs crashed into the baggage and express cars. Engineer Conklin crawled from the engine window to find chaos. Passengers watching the floodwaters had been thrown from the train, and one, stonecutter John Bach, was tragically killed when smashed between the cars. Reverend Keniston had broken his hip, arm, and collarbone. Galesburg resident Matthew Lenz had internal injuries, and many of the other passengers had cuts and bruises from the impact. The brakeman hurried 2 miles on foot back to Elmwood to bring help for the wounded, although getting the engine back on the tracks would require a bit more leverage than the locals could provide. 2 days later, once crews cleared Train 56 from the tracks and removed the debris, the coroner's jury asked witnesses, who should have stopped the train? Who should have scouted the tracks after the Zephyr's destructive pass? Who was responsible for John Bach's death? Elmwood Depot's station agent Andrew Phillips had a lot to say. Phillips claimed that not only had he contacted CB&Q dispatch about the storm damage early Monday morning, he had begged passengers not to buy tickets on Train 56. Phillips also bragged that he, a CB&Q employee, had all the authority and could actually have ordered the section foreman out to inspect the track that morning. But Phillips' overconfident words unthinkingly amounted to an admission of negligence, and in turn, the jury found the CB&Q solely to blame for John Bach's death. We, the jury, further find that the CB&Q Railway Company was negligent on its part in not inspecting the said right-of-way due to the severe storm and high water. Despite eventually only paying Bach's family $1,500 in damages, the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Company apparently learned their 1904 lesson. When the same spot along the Kickapoo washed out again in July 1951, Crews were sent to scout the location, and the next train kept at the station until the rails were once again safely supported. Unfortunately, the Oklahoma Zephyr learned nothing.